Let's talk World Player of the Year and Breakthrough Player of the Year, because on Sunday, when the rugby for this November Test weekend is done, the nominations for those two categories and the rest of World Rugby's awards will be announced. So this is the final opportunity for people to stake their claim, make their case and impress. I know rugby is a team sport and you win as a team and lose as a team, and ultimately it's about the collective, but the individual awards are very prestigious and very special, and some absolute legends of the game have won this in the past. You are part of a very, very small and elite group of people if you manage to win one of these gongs. So it is important. I've done a video before the November test. I thought it's worth revisiting now because the nominations are just a couple of days away. Your thoughts in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up to help me spread the word. Hit subscribe on the channel. I'm Tim and this is Egg Chasers. Firstly, the criteria for World Player of the Year before I get into the contenders. The criteria is this award is open to all players who have played more than 1 year of Test match international rugby. Voting is assessed on international Test match performances. Club rugby is not recognised. And this will take into account all of the rugby in 2024 so far. So everything since the Rugby World Cup. On that basis, and what I did on my previous video is I did a kind of long list, and I'm going to go down to a short list now, and I'm going to pick who my 4 nominees would be and who the winner should be as well. So based on that criteria that I just described, Antoine Dupont, not this time, mate. He may well end up being World Rugby Sevens Player of the Year. Quite remarkable, Olympic gold medalist. Also, Antoine Dupont put in the best individual performance I've ever watched live in the Champions Cup final, where Toulouse won, but he's only played 1 international game this year, and that was against Japan last weekend. It's going to have to be some game against New Zealand tomorrow night if he's going to even be in consideration. So amazing player as Antoine Dupont is. He has won the award before. He would have won it in that year when there wasn't an award because of COVID and all that. And I'm sure he'll win it again in the future, but not this time. Antoine, you are out. Next contender I put on my long list before was Duhan van der Merwe. Had a brilliant year. 8 caps now because he didn't get a try. He was 7 caps and 7 tries coming into the autumn. Didn't score against South Africa. So 8 caps, 7 tries is a great return. And don't I know how good he can be as an Englishman. He always turns up against England. Blows a little bit hot and cold. Deadly or quiet. And that's why I'm not considering him for the shortlist. Duhan van der Merwe is out. James Lowe's had a brilliant year. So important to the way Ireland play. Very, very good. It's not a criticism to say, though, others have been better. So James Lowe, I'm also counting out. Jesse Creel, muscle tone of a chimp. Look how absolutely shredded his legs are. An ever-present whenever Rassie Erasmus puts out his first-choice team, evidenced by the fact he's been selected against England at Twickenham. But Jesse Creel, good as he has been, and he has been great. Not quite at the very elite level. The margins are tiny at the top. Bundy Aki, exactly the same. He's not been selected this weekend. Was a bit quiet against New Zealand. Had a great Six Nations and was nominated for Player of the Year in that tournament. He only played 1 of the tests against South Africa in July. For that reason, great as he is, Bundy Aki not on my shortlist either. Ben Earl. Now, coming into the November test, I said Ben Earl is on the shortlist as things stood before November. His Six Nations was absolutely incredible, and he was massive away in New Zealand. He put Ardie Savia in his shadow in that head-to-head matchup. Even though New Zealand won the test matches, Ben Earl was awesome for England in New Zealand. A little bit quieter against New Zealand and Australia in this November series. So I don't know if that might harm Ben Earl. I think he could still squeeze onto the shortlist. Definitely could still squeeze onto the shortlist. I'm going to say he might just miss out, however. But he's had a brilliant year. Tommaso Menoncello, the Six Nations Player of the Year. I think he might just be harmed by the fact he plays for Italy. I mean, when you look at the criteria, by the way, this award is open to all players who've played more than a year of international rugby, and voting is assessed on international test match performances. Club rugby is not recognised. That means unless you're in one of the countries that plays against the top nations all the time, it's quite hard to impress. Now, Italy so just for tier 2 players, I think it's really harsh that is the criteria. And I don't see why club rugby couldn't be factored in, but fine. I get it. As for Tommaso Menoncello, Six Nations Player of the Year, that means he's got to be in with a shout of being on the shortlist. They got absolutely humped by Argentina in the game last weekend. And in the summer months, over July, in that test window, Italy played against like Tonga and Chile or whoever they played. It wasn't the big teams. And I think that might harm his chances. So I'm going to say not quite for Tommaso Menoncello. Now, here are the ones where I think they've got a realistic shot at getting on the shortlist. Despite the fact he hasn't been available in this November Test series, Santiago Chocobares has been so good for Argentina that I think he's got to be a contender for the shortlist. And the fact this is the first time ever that Argentina have beaten Australia, beaten New Zealand, beaten South Africa in the same rugby championship, he's in with a shout. Cheslin Colby, absolutely in with a shout. Rassie Erasmus described him as a once-in-a-lifetime player. And the fact that during the rugby championship, he was on the wing, but you saw him popping up at scrum half, throwing in the ball at, at hooker. The guy's just an absolute worldie of a player. So he will be in contention for the shortlist. And Cody Taylor, back in the New Zealand team to play against France this weekend, having missed the game against Ireland and gone off injured really early in that game against England. That could harm his chances. He was so good through the Rugby Championship that he's still a contender. And he's up against arguably the best hooker in the world. I would say Piato Malvaca is the best hooker in the world. So if Cody Taylor goes and does a job on him in their head-to-head, then that's a bit of a statement ahead of these nominations and could sway the balance on the shortlist. There are only 4 spots on the shortlist, and I've just mentioned Cody Taylor, Tommaso Menoncello, Santiago Chocobares. Santiago Chocobares and Cody Taylor. I've got potential for the shortlist. Caelan Doris, quiet as Ireland have been in that game against New Zealand last week, I think he's in. He has been amazing. Six Nations champion, captain of Ireland, led them to a series draw in South Africa, that famous win in Durban. And he was, I think, across both teams. It was Oxenchae for South Africa and it was Caelan Doris for Ireland. They were the best 2 players in that series. The two best teams in the world at the time going head-to-head. And I think he's on the shortlist. I think Pieter-Steph du Toit is on the shortlist. He has been immense. Whether he's been filling in at second row as he used to back in the day, smashing people, huge defensive shots. He's been running in the wide channels quite a lot and quite often running with the ball in one hand like R.G. Snyman. He has been incredible. So, yes, he is no question on the shortlist. And so is Oxenchae, who has played, and I think he's the only South African player to have played in every single test match in 2024. He's been amazing. He has absolutely ripped teams to shreds. And without Stephen Kitsoff, he's become the automatic and go-to first choice at loosehead prop. And he's not just an incredible scrummager, he's got really good hands and wheels as well, and can jackal and all that. I just think he's incredible. And as I've been saying on the channel for a while, no prop has ever even been nominated. Oxenchae is going to be the first. So my shortlist: Santiago Chocobares, Cody Taylor. One of those two is going to get it. Because Santiago Chocobares isn't playing this weekend and Cody Taylor is starting against France. I'm just going towards Cody Taylor, and he's going to make the shortlist along with Caelan Doris, along with Pieter-Steph du Toit. But your World Player of the Year, the first prop ever to be nominated and to win, is Oxenchae. Has to be. I'm throwing the full weight of the channel behind him. I don't get a vote. I don't get a say. But if it influences in any tiny way, I'm game on for that. By the way, World Rugby still haven't got my invite to the World Rugby Awards in Monaco. Lost in the post, I'm assuming. It has to be Oxenchae. I've got my marketing materials that I've been sharing on the channel. Prop gun. Salads don't win Player of the Year. Let's make sure there's t-shirts with that on it come in a couple of weeks' time. And there's a new one, Prop Star. Oxenchae, your World Player of the Year has to be. Who do you think should be nominated? I mean, I can see Pieter-Steph du Toit winning it as well. It's got to be one of those two players, hasn't it, winning. As for the nominees, I'd love to see Santiago Chocobaras or Cody Taylor nominated. Caelan Doris will be. And that is your list for me. As for Breakthrough Player of the Year, let's get on to that. Now, Breakthrough Player of the Year, it's open to all men's 15 players who have played no more than 1 year of international rugby. And with that in mind, that means I think Joe McCarthy and Ruan Nokia are both unavailable or are ineligible for this award because they played prior to this year. I think if World Rugby are that's how they do it, then Ruan Nokia and Joe McCarthy will be ineligible. Otherwise, I think Joe McCarthy would be on it and Ruan Nokia would have a shout. He would be on the shortlist. But I think they're ineligible. I think it's the same with Emilien Gaiton as well. So anyway, the contenders, based on the criteria that I think it is, Cortez Ratimer could be on there. Chandler Cunningham South could be on there. Those are the two. Let me go back. Those are the two that I think are battling it out for the 4th spot on the shortlist. Cortez Ratimer and Chandler Cunningham South. Kieran Frawley would have been a shout. Not involved this weekend. And I think he's only actually started 1 test match for Ireland. But obviously the drop goal in Durban was incredible. Finn Baxter, Georges-Henri Colombe, Leo Barret, a couple of Frenchmen. But I think that the 4th spot on the nominations list between Cortez Ratimer and Chandler Cunningham South. You take your pick, but then you get on to the 3. I think really there are only 3 contenders for this award. If the criteria is what it says it is, and Joe McCarthy, for example, is ineligible, then the 3 contenders are Wallace Satiti, Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. Despite not playing in November, he's had an amazing first year in Test rugby. And Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, likewise, has been absolutely sensational. Of those players, of those 3, Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu, Wallace Satiti, it was kind of even before November started. And obviously we knew Sasha FM was not going to be playing. But there's only one winner. This guy's got it in the bag, hasn't he? Doesn't really matter what happens in Paris on Saturday night. He's already got it. He's been absolutely amazing and getting better and better. This is a seriously special player. And he is going to join that list of greats that have won World Breakthrough Player of the Year. Wallace Satiti, it's done. It's done deal. Done deal. Oxenche and Wallace Satiti, they're the 2 winners if I were picking. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit subscribe. See you on the next one.